It's not just the veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan who struggle with mental health. With 22 veteran suicides occurring every day, 69% of military suicides are committed by veterans over the age of 50. Let's take a closer look at some of the unique struggles faced by our older veterans.
They serve their country, many in combat. They come home and raise families. They age. According to the Veterans Administration, these seasoned warriors, veterans over the age of 50, represent more than 2/3 of all veterans. And it's this group that's most at risk of suicide. Between 1999 and 2010, the average age of male veterans who died from suicide was 59.6 years among veterans identified by state death certificates, and 54.5 years among those who could be validated using VA administration records. That's considerably older than the average age of civilian male suicides at 43 years.
The way that our veterans deal with the memories and the traumatic experience of that war, and I believe it's different at the subconscious level, and there's some other factors, affective states, if you will, in psychological jargon, unique to Vietnam veterans that are not with the current crop.
Researchers say one of the particular challenges in suicide recognition and prevention is that older people, particularly men, don't talk about their emotional pain or seek out help from a mental health provider. Combined with other factors of aging, the social isolation, physical and mental deterioration, and access to firearms, it becomes a lethal combination. So how do we help this generation of veterans? If you see something, say something.
Suicide is a public health issue, and I think people should look at it from the community standpoint, whether it be community mental health services. There may be some private agencies in communities that offer these kinds of services, and so it's connecting everybody together.
Wow. David, is the Iraq War the war that put PTSD on the map? Is that the one that opened up our eyes to exactly what was going on?
It's beginning to. I mean, one of the interesting things about Andrew, about the stories we just heard, is that even though only half, roughly, of those service members who died by suicide ever served in combat, the half who did were just, I think, starting to now realize that the enormous burden of war trauma on people who don't look wounded at all. One interesting thing that I came across in doing the reporting for this series is that the majority of people who were medevaced from Afghanistan and Iraq were not medevaced for physical wounds, but for mental wounds.
Really?
Yeah, in a category called reaction. So, you know, this includes PTSD and traumatic brain injury and various forms of anxiety disorders and a whole range of psychological reactions to being at war. And so even though these people are not visibly wounded, they are wounded. And that's why we called this series Invisible Casualties, because the war has exacted such a toll on so many people.